Welcome everyone to another Save Yourself podcast, all about water part 2. And as ever, I'm joined in the Future Up studio by Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello Glyn, I'm really pleased to be here and particularly excited to be introducing Phil, whom we mentioned quite a lot in part 1, which was our introduction to everything about water.
Welcome Phil.
That's my pleasure, thanks for having me on.
So Phil, as you know, not only have we all mutually been studying water, we wanted to be able to make water or change the structure of water or energize water so that people can drink water that is of a healing benefit. Previous to meeting you, and obviously we did see you on the Richard Vogue show as well, is that what we were doing was we were distilling our water, then we were vortexing it by using magnets.
No, we were going into the remineralization process after distilling it.
Well, we were, yes. Obviously, Once we've distilled the water, we then remineralized it. But the part of, if you wish, the structuring was then that we would use vortexing. We also have a little hydrogen flask where we're adding additional hydrogen molecules to it. But Phil's come up with something which talk about how to do this easily. I was absolutely blown away when I saw your demonstration on Richard Vogue's Phil. To be able to shine a light on water is just phenomenal. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do, if I may, is just so that everybody needs really to understand what water is, first of all. And then I think they will better understand when we do the demonstration what is actually going on and why it's able to occur, because it's quite, as you saw, it's quite an unbelievable sort of process that occurs, and people are really quite skeptical of what we're doing. So if I can just, as I say, start off with a little description that I think people will then better understand what it is they're going to see. Excuse me. So, water is a three-dimensional crystalline structure. Now, people will probably say, well, I've never heard of that before. And of course, the thing is, when you pour a glass of water and you look at the water, you don't see anything. You don't see the chemicals or the what we call total dissolved solids in that water. You just see water. It's transparent, but yet there is properties and compounds within that water that you are going to put into your body. Now, why haven't you heard that water is a three-dimensional crystalline structure? But you all know that it is, funnily enough, because if you haven't, you can easily look this up. But if you look at a snowflake under a microscope, you, at about 20,000 magnification, you will see the most wonderful geometric structures, which are three-dimensional and crystalline. And you will then see for yourself, that is what water is. It's so simple. Nature has designed something which is so powerful. You really, and you're going to see that, but you really need to understand why the world and all life is here because of water, and it's very, very exciting.
It is indeed. And is it true that every snowflake is entirely unique?
Yes. And why is that? It's because water having a memory, and the reason it has a memory, because inside that three-dimensional crystalline structure, there is space. This is all sort of, micro sizing here. So, but that space enables the water to retain information. And that information comes in the form of frequencies, and frequencies come from the sunlight that we are absorbing because we are beings of water. And the fact of the matter is that the ability of water to do that is not very well known at all that water has a memory. And so it's really, really important. And the problem that we have today, and I don't like to go into problems, but the water that we have is influenced by electromagnetic frequencies. And those electromagnetic frequencies destroy the natural bonds, hydrogen bonds, water H being H2O. Um, these frequencies, electrical frequencies that we surround ourselves with, interfere with the natural structure of water. And so the reason that each snowflake is different, because each snowflake is affected as it comes down to us from the rain, frozen. It eventually absorbs all of these frequencies that we live in, and actually, as it's doing that, different frequencies are causing different geometric structures in each snowflake. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
So, yeah, very complex. So each snowflake is in essence having a different experience on its journey, on its way down, which has then influenced it slightly differently, which is why they're all unique.
Absolutely, yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely amazing. Not only that, but the issue then becomes when the snowflakes actually melt, and the water's absorbing the electromagnetic frequencies from everything. I mean, we don't live as nature intended anymore. We live in an unnatural environment. We don't live in a natural environment any longer. And so that has a deleterious effect on all health, whether it's plant health, animal life, human health. Um, and really, we need to address that issue. And I hope that when as we go along in this journey, people will begin to understand the importance to their health and wellness of drinking water that has been energized. The structured water is energized water. The frequencies that we program into the water using the light source from, would you believe, your cell phone, are very, very powerful and energetic. And we're going to prove that, actually. Because believe what you see and not what you're told nowadays. Sorry to say that.
well, yes, I wholeheartedly concur.
Yeah, what's fascinating, Phil, as you're aware, we mentioned to you that we've Sarah and I have already done one recording on, let's call it, all about water. What's brilliant about this
Yes.
is you are really sort of enforcing the light-hearted conversation that Sarah and I had about water, about saying that water is conscious, water is intelligent, but most importantly, water has memory. And so we've got
Yes.
water that's been around for a long, long time, that's got its own memory of its own journey. So, yeah, this is brilliant, Phil,
Mm.
that we're starting, as you say, our journey to not only starting to understand water, but to interact with it in a different way.
Fortunately, I used to work for a Japanese company many years ago, and so I was back and forth over to Japan quite regularly. And in Japan, if you go into the underground system, the railway system underground in Tokyo, for example, you will see films and pictures of in fact snowflakes, um, and the work done by Dr. Emoto in Japan, and he was the pioneer, really, of the ability to look at how water has this capability of memorizing information. And he did a lot of work on this, and his work is now very well known to the Japanese, who actually live longer generally than the rest of the world's population,
Yes.
not only because of their knowledge of water, but also because of their diets are different to ours, obviously.
Yeah.
But he actually did a series of experiments, which again seem to us in the West particularly quite incredible and unbelievable. So when I went over there, I mean, I've looked and researched all the work that he did. Unfortunately, he's passed away, but his son runs the laboratory now that his father had set up. And what Dr. Emoto was experimenting with was the fact that you could speak to water. And again, that sounds absolutely crazy to anybody. Like I used to think probably that's crazy. And I know I won't mention names, drop names here, but there was a rumor that the now King Charles used to talk to his plants.
Yes.
And of course, that everybody thought he was crazy then, but perhaps he wasn't, because of course, when you look at Emoto's work and what I've seen now, that we are producing all the time. We are beings of frequency. We are electrical water beings of frequency, and because of that, when we speak, we are emitting frequencies, and our ears are picking up our speech, and our brains decoding it. And that's all frequency. So everything is frequency. Everything has a frequency. So when you speak to water, and you probably at this stage you'll think this guy's loony, but if I shout at water in an aggressive manner, that those frequencies are absorbed by the water, and you then freeze that. Dr. Emoto would freeze that and look under the microscope, and he would see just non-constructed blobs of gunk, really. Quite incredible. But if you would say I love you, or words of wisdom, anything that comes from your mouth, and behind that is of course the feelings in your body, which are very, very important. The consciousness that you have, the feelings that you have, they are all transmitted into water. So this is why, and we don't do this, but why we should drink water every single day. And I've done 30 years of work on health and wellness in the human body. And the fact of the matter is that I would say out of many thousands of people that I've sat in front of and done various tests, which is a subject for another time, I would say that just about everybody is dehydrated. And Dr. Batman Gelich, who I became a friend of, wrote a book which started me on my journey as far as water is concerned, called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And all the research that he did, his conclusion was that dehydration is the root cause of almost, if not every, chronic disease condition.
Interesting. I know that obviously you've made some massive lifestyle changes yourself over years, which has kept you incredibly fit and healthy. And we're going to talk about those in a little while, and then we'll do another podcast about some of the amazing products that you've been involved in that's helped people with their health and wellness and their longevity. But just returning back to Masaru Emoto then, and the Heido Institute, which, as you say, his son has continued. Another interesting factor is his work's also being continued by the lovely lady Vida Austin, who recognised that she herself was starting to do experiments similar to Emoto, and found that just a small level of freezing, she was actually having greater results. But incredible subject, Phil.
It is, isn't it? It truly is, and it really is life changing. And I've been fortunate enough to benefit from doing what I'm preaching. I'm 75, as you know. My cardiovascular system is operating as somebody in their early 30s, and so on and so forth. I won't bore you with
That's
all
not
of
boring at all. That's fascinating.
I suppose there's only one question I would ask. We know that you've got pretty much 100% brain health and pretty much 95% heart health, but that creaking in the background, is that your chair or is that your skeletal system?
Yeah. I hate to admit it, but my dining table, which I'm currently on at the moment, I don't know how old it is, but it certainly needs a bit of oil, that's for sure. Now, the problem is, of course, in the world we live in also, and not going to get political or, stray too much from what we're talking about here, but it is very difficult because we're not allowed to make claims about anything. And I believe actually the doctor that was the head of the European Agency for Health and Wellness, he actually said that we were not allowed to say that water hydrated the body.
Well, just one thing to give you a little bit more freedom here, Phil, and I say that respectfully. Although all of these podcasts are designed to help and support people, and we're doing all of this, as you know, not to try to be authorities, not with any form of ego, but we also need to start speaking the truth. And Sarah and I were only discussing that this morning, and I'll let her make this comment, is, how long do we let it go that we are constantly suppressed by sharing our truths? I mean, do you want to say what you said this morning, Sarah?
Yeah, I was looking at a bottle of micellized oregano, which is incredibly useful as a product, incredibly good for your health. And it's had a warning at the bottom, which was basically saying that they were not allowed to they were not making any claim to help or support you or offer guidance with your health in any way, shape, or form. It was a complete disclaimer because they're not allowed to actually speak the truth about a product. And I just thought, I am done with this. You get to a point where you just think, hang on a minute. We know this is good for you. We know that this is going to help this person. Why can't we just speak the truth?
So I think the point I'm saying is I know, Phil, obviously in your line of business, I know that you have products that you are sharing with people. These are podcasts which are honest podcasts, and let's say the same thing. Structured water is good for your health. Micellized oregano oil can be good for your health. Taking various nutritional supplements are good for your health. So I'm saying it, and I'm really not interested whether people say you have to have a disclaimer and everything. This is not a product, it's a podcast. It's people speaking the truth. And the truth is that what we are trying to do to help people, particularly all the things we're doing within nature, so am I not allowed to say that getting grounded is going to actually assist you with getting some much needed negative ions into your body? Because as you said earlier, Phil, is the environment that we're currently living in, we're getting bombarded with positive ions and things that are not good. It's ironic, isn't it? Positive ions, they use the word positive for something that's not. And I want to quite elaborate on this, if you'll just humour me, Phil. Is we know that obviously the body does require negative ions, as which we can get from energized water, from getting grounded, from hugging a tree, but we do still need positive ions. Let's just make this quite clear, folks. We're not suggesting that you don't have any positive ions. You're getting far too many due to your environment, so we need to get a balance by actually bringing more negative ions
Absolutely
into
right.
your system.
As I said earlier on, we are electrical beings, and in fact, the body operates on what we call microcurrents, which are very low level but have a tremendous impact on your health. And unfortunately, one of the things that, and again, I'm digressing a little here, but one of the things that you mentioned earlier on was grounding. What is grounding? Grounding is the ability to walk on the earth. Okay, and what happens then is that the electrical known as static electricity builds up in your body because guess what? We're insulating ourselves from the earth. We are wearing trainers or rubber-soled shoes, or and so that's insulating us. And what is happening then is that static electricity, it's like when you rub a balloon on your hair and it sticks to your hair. That is what's happening with our blood cells. They are sticking together because the static electricity is built up in our body, and not being released into the ground. So when Glenn talked about grounding, it's very, very important that, go down to the seaside and take your shoes off and walk in the sand and the sea and let the sun give you the energy that we all need and crave, and go out into your garden and take your shoes off. No, it's difficult in this weather. You probably swim a bit, but yeah, take your shoes off and put your feet on the ground. It is absolutely fantastic.
Well,
Another habit to get into. Habits are what keeps us healthy. Good habits and bad habits cause us to become sick. Now, we all know what the bad habits are. But one of the bad habits is not drinking enough water. And the problem with that today is that the water that we're drinking is not actually hydrating our body properly any longer. Why is that? It's because the electromagnetic frequencies that we talked about just earlier on, they are breaking the hydrogen bonds of the cluster, which were a cluster of water is these three-dimensional crystalline structures that bond together. And what happens in nature, those clusters have a frequency and the ability to then pass through what we call the aquaporins in our cell membrane, which has a frequency. So what happens is, this is just amazing, because the fact that we're designed to match the frequency of the natural water that allows the water into the cell is absolutely amazing. How on earth did that happen? So what is happening now? So the electromagnetic frequencies are breaking these weak hydrogen bonds that are forming the natural clusters of water, the size of the clusters of water. And then the water is not then able to permeate through into our cell and hydrate our bodies efficiently. So what does that mean? It means a lot, because when water enters the cell, it then we think through an enzymatic process, it becomes a gel. So how can you have water into a gel? So if you make a jelly, which is sat there wobbling, 99.9% of that jelly is water. It's held together by, that little bit of substance that you put in.
Gelatin.
Sorry?
Gelatin.
Yeah, gelatin, of course, and gelatin, and which makes it into a wobbly solid. So what happens in our cells? We don't have water in our cells. When the water enters the cell, the water changes into a jelly, and that's called a cytoplasm. And so, what does the cytoplasm do? The cytoplasm protects all of our organelles within our cell. It also protects the mitochondria, which is the billions of mitochondria in each cell, which enable the production of ATP, which is our energy source, and it protects the nucleus of the cell. And so the mitochondria obviously is a very important part of the cell, but if you are not absorbing and hydrating your cells correctly, then the cytoplasm is not forming correctly. So what then happens is the cell is not able to optimize its energy production. And we are beings of energy. That is what life is. Life is energy. And without energy, you have no life. And of course,
and to bring this into simple terms, Phil, what we're saying is that you can drink 4 or 5 glasses of water every day, and that's going to quench your thirst, but it's not going to hydrate you at a cellular level. And as you mentioned, is that structured stroke energized water is considered to be the 4th phase of water. And as you say, it's a gel-like substance, which is H3O2, which you will get through eating organic fruit and vegetables. I mean, we're going to talk Obviously, Phil, we'd love you to come back on and talk to us about not only your other products, but obviously the science behind the reasons why we need to take minerals. And the reason why minerals are so important to us. And I know that you've got a lot of information to share on minerals and also on parent oils to explain to people the difference in where they should be getting their more positive source of omega-6 and omega-3 from. But that's a story for another day. So to bring this back online, I'm incredibly excited then to hear about the technology that you have to help people to structure their water so that they
Right.
can stop hydrated to cellular level.
Okay. So a bit of a dichotomy because, of course, having mentioned the fact that we're surrounded by these awful electromagnetic frequencies, and of course, the computer that I'm on at the moment is emitting those, the cell phone emits those, and so on and so forth. So you can't get away from it. And it's very important that we do find a solution to this. So, don't use the word solution in the way that you're going to find out a bit more about why water is the solution.
The
So
ultimate.
what we've done, we have identified and isolated the frequencies which enable energy to be produced, energetic frequencies. So the frequencies come from the sun, and there's lots and lots of different frequencies, billions of frequencies, I'm sure, that most of which we don't know. But of course, we do know um, about different frequencies from sunlight because, of course, when you look at a rainbow and you see all the different colors of the rainbow, each color has a different frequency. Okay, and then there are frequencies which we can't see, X-rays, for example, things like that, because they're in a different bandwidth, so our eyes can't see those; they're invisible. And so there's a lot of things going around in our atmosphere that we can't see, but are there. And in fact, this electrification of the world, really, with the wrong sort of frequencies, they've actually managed to electrify the ionosphere. And, this is crazy stuff, quite frankly. It's science which has no benefits to the human race or life.
There's quite a lot of that going around at the moment.
There is, and it's quite distressing actually. But nevertheless, as I come back to that word solution, so we've identified these frequencies and we've encompassed them in a program, a computer program. And what we do is when you download this system, we call it a genomic charging system. And what that does is that it captures the information, the frequencies in the light, just a torch in your standard cell phone. All light, it doesn't matter what the source of the light is, whether it's a cell phone torch or whether it's the sun. All light is comprised of what we call photons. And photons are little packets of energy. And, it's like, and if I said water has a memory, and of course, many people say, well, that's ridiculous. And in fact, I think if you Google a little bit of, try and get some information, I think it's demonized. You'll see that structured water is considered not to be scientific. I can tell you it is the science.
It's the basis of everything.
It is the basis of everything, yeah. So what happens is that and just if when I say that to people and water has a memory and they go, well, that's you're nuts and that's ridiculous. If I'd have said, I don't know, say 100 years ago, I said light has a memory, they'd have burnt me at the stake, perhaps. They probably still will, but I that's something. Let's hope not, just at the moment. So I'd be considered a mad witch and burnt at the stake. So today, when I say to people, water has a memory, they want to burn you
Yeah.
at the stake. But the fact of the matter is that now, today, we're receiving frequencies on our cell phones, on our TVs, PCs, whatever, and the information that is being converted into a picture and sound as we are sat here today is coming through light fiber optic cables. What is a fiber optic cable? It's a cable that transmits light in the form of photons. And when the receiver, which may be the computer that we're on or the TV, what are they? They are systems which decode the frequencies in order to produce light and sound and pictures and all the rest of it. So 100 years ago, perhaps they didn't know that, but today we do, and that's what we do. That's where your information is mainly coming from. So it's the same with water. But water, in my opinion, actually, water has a better ability to retain more information and more energy than, in fact, fiber optic cables,
Yeah.
believe it or not. But of course, there's no money to be made in using water, to do this. And again, unfortunately, the way of the world is we are all trapped in a monetary model, which is a control mechanism, and so that's why we don't get the truthful information to help us live our lives healthily. And I say that unfortunately, sickness, diseases, actually cause people to become not well and unfortunately die. Well, guess what? That system of disease also makes people very, very
Indeed.
wealthy.
Absolutely. Yes. And we also know that there are people on this planet at the moment who are trying to monopolize the water system and either toxify the bits over which they have no control or purchase and own and control the freshwater systems. So, this is something that people need to be very
Yes.
wary of because it's very real and it's happening.
For many, many years, water in many countries and our erstwhile government is now about to implement this, has been fluoridated. And what people must understand, and again, they need to do their own research here, is that fluoride is in fact a carcinogen. It causes cancer. So why would a caring government put that in the drinking water?
I wonder. Fortunately, you're preaching to the converted because, as you know, we all know exactly why. But we're not going to go there today.
No. So, but nevertheless, it's the water that you drink is important to to make sure it's clean in whatever way you want to do that. And you mentioned that you use a distiller,
Yeah.
and that's excellent because distillation does in fact remove all the toxins from water, and water, especially energized water, is one of nature's best detoxification systems that you could possibly have. And again, another reason why you must drink it throughout the day and detoxify your body from these toxins, which now we are living in a world of toxins. So toxicity is very important to detoxify as probably the first thing you need to do and understand if you want to get well. So, okay, so what we've done then, we've got this computer program, we've captured the energy producing frequencies, and we've put those frequencies into the light. As the light is shining, those photons are flowing through the light source into either directly into your body, because I've already said that the body absorbs frequencies because we're beings of water, or we can put that frequency into water directly. And any liquid, in fact, any liquid. And not only any liquid, but we can also use it on our food. We can energize and structure the water molecules within our food sources. So that, I mean, again, sounds absolutely ridiculous, but if you shine this light onto your phone, it will enable your absorption of the nutrients in your food sources to be absorbed into the body much, much more efficiently. So we're going to get more benefit from the nutrients. Any water soluble vitamin or mineral, well, not minerals from plants, also will be absorbed more effectively into your body's cellular system. So
That's even
it's
better.
really
I
exciting.
thought it was just about energizing the water, but if it energizes the food and everything else around you, that's absolutely brilliant.
Yes. Well, going back to energy, it is known basically in the East, really, to be known, or China or Japan, those sort of areas, the energy is known as qi. And so what we do when we, and you'll see this actually, when we take just a little drop of water and we put it on our central sort of meridian that runs centrally through our body, basically following the spine, just a few drops of water. And as Glyn just mentioned, you don't even have to take your clothes off, will transfer instantly the energy and balance, because the body's all about balance. Health is about balance. If your body's out of balance, then you're not well. So when your body's in balance, you're well. And so that's important to understand why we need to keep our body in balance, and our energy should keep our body in balance if we're in a fit and healthy state. And by shining this or putting the water onto the body physically, literally, and you're going to see this, just a small drop of it absolutely changes your balance, your stability, your mental, cognitive functions will improve. Everything about your body will change.
Is it time to do that test then, Phil, and then we can chat again after we've done the test?
Yeah, we certainly can, yes, and I'll be happy to do that.
Sarah, our model, ready to display.
What a lovely model, if I may say.
You're going to change Sarah's structure, I believe, Phil. So over to
you. Not quite. I'm going to. Well, let's see what I'm going to do. All right, and people can make their own minds up what we're doing. So we're first of all, we're going to create what we call a morphic field of energy. And again, we've all got to get our heads around the fact that water can retain information from a light and transfer this, and then not only that, but actually then transfer that energy instantly into somebody's body. It seems absolutely unbelievable, but now we're going to demonstrate it. So what I'd like you to do is, first of all, I'm going to energize the water. And how I'm going to do that, I'm going to shine my light into my camera, and you're going to put your little glass of water in front of the camera, and it just takes 40 seconds. That's all to energize that. And then we'll go from there. So do you want to talk about the little glass of water?
Yep, just to explain everyone then, what I've done is I've got a little glass of water here, and the water in here has been distilled, and then we put it into our little dispensing tank where we add what we call a mineral stick, a mineralization stick, just to add the minerals back in. So this is distilled water with that's been remineralized. That's all I've got.
Right. And just what I would say to that, it doesn't matter what water you use. All water will absorb this, even if it's wash my mouth out, forgive the no pun intended, but avoid tap water if you can. But you can still use tap water. So, all right. So, okay. So what I'm going to do then is let's get the system working. So if you now put your glass of water in front of your screen, and Glenn, please, and we'll make sure that you make sure that the light is hitting the water. Okay, so
I'm going to move it out of my screen so it's actually in front of the light from your phone, Phil.
That's it. Yeah.
Just while we're waiting for the 40 minutes then, Phil, a couple of questions.
40 seconds, 40 seconds.
Sorry, I meant 40 seconds. Just while obviously we're waiting to do this is what's fascinating, because obviously I've discussed this with you pre-recording, Phil, is that this is actually happening live, real time. If anyone replayed back this video, it wouldn't work. It's got to be actually in real time, hasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Right, that's 40 seconds. So what we'll do now is that if Sarah can just move out the way so that we can look at the floor.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then Glenn, you've got to put the water on the floor, forming this square. So first of all, if you pop your 2 fingers into the water and you put a drop down on the floor. Right, now go across to the right to make another corner of a square. Okay, and then come across down diagonally to the left-hand corner where you're standing now.
I feel like
and then across to
the floor, Phil.
You are.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I said I feel like I'm anointing the floor.
Oh, you are. No, don't walk, Sarah. Step backwards if you would.
All right. The first 2 drops are here.
Sarah, you've got to try and remember it's a clear floor as well. So just have an idea of where that was. But Glenn, what I want you to do, if Sarah turns to her side, right, we want to see how much effort it takes just to unbalance Sarah. So very slowly increase the pressure and just see how much effort it takes just to unbalance her. So off you go. Oh, Sarah, you've got to go down the gym a couple of times a day and that'll sort that out. Spray yourself with water. Now, what I now want you to do, Sarah, is to step into that square of energy that we've formed. If you can remember where it is. Roughly. Okay. Now, turn to the side. That's it. And Glenn, I want you to repeat that. So very gently, but just increase the pressure. And again, see what point we get to, how much effort it needs just to. Right. Okay. So stretch your arms out, Sarah. That's it. That's it. Okay. All right. Off you go, Glenn. All right. So Sarah, step back out of that. Go back to where you were originally. Now, Glenn, repeat that exercise. Right, just repeat it now. So Sarah is standing out of the morphic field of energy. and now step back in. Now step back in.
Just looking to where it is from the floor.
That's it. Now, give it a real good go. Don't break her arms, though.
Absolutely no chance.
No, can't move her. No.
So
that's incredible, isn't it?
It is.
Now we're going to do something again, which I think is amazing. So what you're going to do now, Sarah, you're going to go back to the stand where you were out of the square, right? And we've already seen how easy it is to tip you back. But Glenn, I want you to put 4 drops of water using your 2 fingers down her central core, right? 1 on her forehead, 1 on her just below her neck, 1 on her chest and 1 on her belly button. And then again, repeat the exercise. So back to the back of the room, Sarah, please. Right, away from the square. Okay, so first of all, face the side again. No, the other way. You're going to do exactly the same. Link your fingers together. All right, so press down. Okay, and now face the camera. Glyn, get your water. Now put your 2 fingers in, top of her head. That's it. Neck, chest, and belly button. So then repeat the test now, Glyn, please. Here really is the amazing thing, but because anybody can do this, you can actually demonstrate this to your friends in Australia if you wish.
Wow. So we're back in the office now in the studio, but my goodness, that was a really interesting demonstration. Pretty conclusive, if you ask me. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, it was fantastic,
My
Phil.
pleasure.
I suppose it'd be useful now to explain to people exactly what you just did.
Yeah, well, I didn't do much at all. I just shone a light into the camera, and you put a glass of water in front of your computer screen. So I didn't really do much. So what we actually did, we used the light in the cell phone to transmit frequencies which we've programmed into that into the light photons. All light is comprised of photons, which are little packets of energy, and we've used specific frequencies to transmit energy into the water, which is what we did when you were holding your glass of water up to the computer screen. Now, the first thing that we did was to create this energy field. And how we did that was that you, Glyn, had put 4 drops of water with your fingers from the water that we'd energized and changed into a structured water. You made a square. Obviously, you couldn't see it.
Just
but
4 drops in
4
each
corners of
4
the
drops
square,
in, yeah.
yeah, that created the shape, which is known as a morphic field. That's the shape of the field of energy. And what had happened, the energy that is now created within that field, you stepped into that. And the incredible, and it is just incredible. Every time I do it, I can't believe it, because it's so amazing that the energy in that field is then immediately, instantly absorbed by your body, your own body. And the reason being is because our bodies are beings of water. Although, to be quite accurate, we're not beings of water. We're beings of water that is an electrolyte. It's full of electrical activity from the minerals that we take. We should get from our food sources, or we should mineralize our body in order that all this ability to absorb into our body these amazing amounts of energy just contained in a little drop of water. It's absolutely
Certainly
mind-blowing.
is, especially as
What I
it was
would
on the
say
floor,
is,
not in my body at all.
sorry, go on.
That was the most incredible. It was
Sorry,
incredible
say again.
because it was on the floor. It's not as if it was actually, I hadn't drunk it.
Yes.
It was, how powerful is that?
No. Well, I come on to that. So what we then did, Glyn had put some water directly onto your body, going down the central meridian of your body, and that balances out the energy fields within your body. And the amount of energy is so great that the electromagnetic frequencies that we're surrounded by, which have also 24/7 are being absorbed by our body and breaking up those hydrogen bonds, which make the water clusters. And then the body is then not able to optimize its own energy production. But the amount of energy in that little teeny weeny drop of water is so great that it's a greater energy than the electromagnetic frequencies that we are absorbing all the time. And what then happens, and it happens instantly, is that your body's own functionality optimizes. So you suddenly become more balanced, more control of your body, more energy, more strength. And as I said before, your brain functions improve, everything improves. So it's really, really exciting to understand this and understand the benefits to all life. It doesn't matter whether you're an animal or whether you're a plant or whether you're a human being. All life depends upon energy, and we've got the secret, the hidden secret here of water, and it's quite remarkable. So when you're drinking it, you get a different reaction. And it's quite a complex mathematical formula here, so I won't bore you with going into that. But what then happens is that our body, because you're drinking the water, is being absorbed directly into our cells. So it's a different mechanism from the mechanism of having water put on you and putting that energy into your body. You're actually putting that water into your body, and it has a different mechanism. And what that is, it's restoring the natural cluster size of the water molecules. Glyn, I just would make a comment, and because I noticed that we spoke about molecules of water being H2O2, and I mentioned to you that in fact water cannot change its molecular structure, because if it did, if you had an extra hydrogen atom attached, so it became H2O2, that there is no bonding mechanism that exists, and so you'd have a free floating hydrogen molecule in the construction of the water clusters, and so that's you can't change the state of water, but what you can do, you can influence the water. And this, when you say to people that water has a memory, which is quite unbelievable to most people, as I had said earlier on, what we're doing here is we're absolutely proving, without any doubt, no matter what anybody says, whether they're a scientist, whether they're a layman, it doesn't matter. What we are doing, you can see and experience with your own body. And so anybody that says to me, that's rubbish, water does not have a memory, they are wrong, because otherwise, when you put 4 little drops of water on the floor and you step into that field of energy, that morphic field of energy, and that transfers into your body instantly, that water must have memorized the frequency that has created the energy field. Otherwise, when you step in it, nothing would happen. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And it was transformative, and it was instant.
That's great. And so when you know that, and when you've experienced that, just imagine what happens when you drink it.
I was actually just about to say the same thing, Phil. Obviously, there are many more tests that you could have done, but obviously we've just done the simple ones initially to show people, as you say, the morphic state by standing in it, and then I think you used the term anointing someone with it. Another fantastic and fascinating test that's been done, Phil. I know that you've done microscope tests with many people to show even the healthiest people, people who consider themselves to be in good health, but are still surrounded by all this EMF. Sort of the soup that we all live in. The microscope test that you've done before and after is showing that people have got an element of blood clotting called rouleau. And as you know, is basically the cells are in a an anaerobic rather than aerobic state. But obviously, you've
Absolutely.
taken a blood test of someone before drinking energized water, and after, and the difference is phenomenal, isn't it?
It is, or can be, because again, we are negating the effects of the electromagnetic frequencies, which are causing what we call rouleau. It's a stacking of blood platelets, and that can vary. The degree of that can vary depending upon the influences of these outside frequencies that we expose ourselves to. There is a problem. I have done a small trial with a number of people, and quite frankly, in every case, every single case, we did this live blood testing. When you go to a doctor's surgery or a hospital and have a blood test, generally that is not a live blood test. It is a dry blood test, because by the time it gets to the laboratory, the blood is dry. When you do a live blood test, it's called microscopy, then you can determine what actually is going on with your blood cells at that time. And
Yeah.
the doctors and practitioners of microscopy, there's two types. There's one called dark field microscopy and light field microscopy. And we can look at both and look at the results. Having said that, once these individuals that I tested, and there were a number of them, I could see that every single one of them, their blood had improved in the way that it had reduced the effect of these electromagnetic frequencies, which causing one of the causes of rouleau. So, but not to a point where my own personal test and my wife's were before and after marked from a score, international recognized score of 1 to 5, 1 being good, 5 being there's an issue. But drinking just 100 milliliters of structured water and testing 15 minutes after having the initial test, the results were absolutely staggering. So much so that our results were actually perfect, classed as 0. And the doctor that took those tests had said she'd not seen anything like that in her 30 years of microscopy. So that was very exciting.
Wow.
However,
That is
having
very
said that, sorry, I'll just finish off here. But having said that, the other participants in the trial, unfortunately, although everybody had an improvement, no doubt about it, and their scores were better, but still there was an issue with their blood. And I don't want to start going into other areas too much, but I think I know why they had not so good results, because recently, over the last couple of years, we've had a medical intervention, so we say, which may or may not be responsible for this. But I have my own thoughts on that. So that's another topic for perhaps another time.
Yes, it is, and that's a really interesting point to make, I think. Yeah.
What I find, apart from obviously being fascinated, Phil, by the technology, what I find great is the convenience of this light technology. As you know, there are products on the market. There are vortex machines, hydrogen flasks. The simple fact here is wherever you are, all you've got to do is shine a light, and you're re-energizing the water accordingly, which is just superb. Now, all the people out there who's probably interested now thinking, well, how do I get hold of this? It's very easy. Just drop us an email to the link below, and we'll make contact with you accordingly and discuss how you can get this facility within your own phone, so that you can make your own energized water. So fantastic. Anything else that you want to add today, Phil, or anything you want to add, Sarah?
Yeah, just quickly, I just want to give everybody a warning here. We decided that obviously the mobile phone is emitting radiation, but I've told you that we can neutralize that effect with the water. So that's great news. However, be wary if you, like me, I don't know how to put this actually, but if you go into a restaurant or a bar or whatever, and you use the light, it will cause probably your meal to go cold if you've ordered a meal, because it causes so much interest in what's going on. And in my local town, I can't actually go into many restaurants or pubs or bars or anything, not that I do a lot, without actually having a nice quiet meal, because it never happens anymore. The word has got around, and it gets quite frantic, and it's fun. The fact that you can do this, as you saw earlier on, to anybody, you can demonstrate this to anybody, anywhere in the world, in a couple of minutes. It is just so exciting, and it will benefit everybody that gets into a habit. The habit is the most important thing. I absolutely, when I show people this and I talk about it, they get all excited, and then perhaps I'll ring them up and say, how are you getting on? Oh, do you know what, Phil? I've been so busy this week, I haven't had a chance to use it. Well, do you know, that is absolutely ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
It is.
And
That's
it's human
crazy.
nature. We need to get into a habit of doing this every single day. Use it on every liquid. If you have got a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or even a beer or your wine, if you're a drinker, your food is mainly water. You can use this light wherever you go and structure the food or the water and benefit from it. But you need to do it every morning. So what I do with my wife, when we get up in the morning, the first thing we do is drink some structured water, and then we have that throughout the day. And we do it every single day, because now it's easy. We don't think about it. We just get up and do it. And that's what everybody needs to do. Otherwise, busy workers people will forget, and then they don't have time when they get to work and all the rest of it. And then we break the habit. You've got to do it. And if you just do it for a week, it's easier the next week. And then the week after that, you don't even think about doing it. So that's the thing. Be strong, mental, and part of your routine daily, just like brushing your teeth. Do it every morning.
Well, there is a saying, Phil, isn't there? Life is a habit, so make it a healthy one. Make it a good habit.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, I think on that note, I think we'll say goodbye to you, Phil.
Yep. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the time and effort you've put into this, Phil. Phil has agreed and will be coming back to talk about other matters as well. This isn't just about water. Everything that we're doing is also about good health and health in general. So Phil will be back to talk about some other wonderful product range that you can actually give people advice on. So yeah, from me and Sarah, thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Phil. You are the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, you're too kind. Thanks ever so much, and thanks for having me on board. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode, and a really big thanks to Phil.
Yes, and if you've enjoyed this or previous Save Yourself podcasts, please feel free to like and subscribe and share with your friends and communities. Thank you, and until next time. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from her. The old jokes are always the best. Well, they are to us old folks anyway.